All right, welcome to week 3. Here with our defending champion and his new trophy, finally. You remember to bring it after 3 weeks.
I say we bring out a name for this trophy. What should we call it?
The couch trophy, I guess. I don't know. That's something to think about. Everybody think about it.
Gayest name ever.
Shoot out some emails. It was just the first thing I thought of.
The couch trophy.
A lot happened this week. We had tons of trades this past week since the last video. Several teams flipped their rosters, which we will get to a little later. Our week 2 payout went actually out to our defending champion for most wide receiver points with Jordy, Nix, and Julio Jones had 35 for a grand total of 69 points plus.
I think that was half of Blake's roster.
Blake scored 87.
My wide receivers almost outscored Blake.
Leaper scored 89, so yeah, your wide receivers almost outscored the entire league.
The entire league.
Yep. Speaking of Andy Nelson, a huge deal today in the NFL. Trent Richardson got traded, which is to the Colts. I'm sure you all know by now, hopefully.
Blowing my shit up.
If you don't know, you shouldn't actually be in the league because you're way late on information. But this is a huge trade for fantasy as Trent Richardson was a first-round pick in probably every league around there. This really fucks Burt as Burt had Ahmad Bradshaw, who is now probably droppable. But, you know, Bradshaw was starting in Burt's lineup, so I'm sure he will try to trade him this week or get a
opens up the waivers tonight. Chris Oingo Boingo.
Yes.
Go get him. Or Rainey.
But speaking of that, the good thing for Burt and everyone, as of last year, would have been the first person to get to their computer would have gotten Willis McGahee or Ig Bayano, however you say his name.
Boingo Boingo.
But with the fab budget, 11 a.m., we're going to see how Willis McGahee goes for it. I feel like he's going to go for the higher than Edelman, higher than James Starks. A lot of people still have 900 plus left in their fab budget. He's an RB3 at worst, RB2 at best. And if worst case scenario, he's huge trade bait once we coming up on bye weeks here in the next couple weeks.
He gets to play the Bengals defense twice, Steelers defense twice, Ravens defense twice.
So are you saying you're not bidding on him?
That's what I'm saying.
He's trying to talk everybody.
Blow it up. Blow it up. $800. I got 801. Going.
801. Our week 2 game wrap-ups. Todd beat me in a blowout. I was down 40 points going into Monday night. Antonio Brown needed to set the wide receiver scoring record. He did not do that. The Steelers look like shit. I also lost Steven Jackson in that game. Deacon Booze destroyed Leaper in this one as well. Leaper scored the second highest points last week and the second lowest points this week, so we don't really know where his team's at. He lost James Vereen, who would have been a huge asset this year. Burt beat Brad by 10 points in a close game where Brad lost Eddie Lacy on the first carry he had that game. So probably Eddie Lacy would have won that game if you look at what James Starks did. So Brad probably would have won, but Brad's Dutch, has no luck, and he's a tight ass. So Justin beat Josh in a close game where a lot of people were in the chat room on Monday night. Josh was down 20 or so, 24 I believe. Had Emmanuel Sanders. Sanders almost scored a touchdown before halftime, which would have had Josh down 5 points going into the second half, but Justin ended up winning that game. Andy Nelson beat Blake as Blake's team continues to disappoint. Ray Rice left with a hip injury, and Mojo continues to act like a waiver wire running back.
Has Blake hit 100 yet?
I do not believe so. He's got 200 points, less than 200 points, I believe, lowest scoring team in the league. But yet he has yet to panic and flip his whole entire roster. So we'll wait for that this week, as I'm sure next week we'll talk about how Blake traded everybody.
He's trying because he's trying Miles Austin for Drew Brees. I'm sure is out there.
Yes, the Panty Hamsters beat Drew, which was another close game.
Lock of the week.
Yeah, going into Monday night, Carl was up 15. I think Drew had AJ Green. Carl had Gio Bernard, and Gio had a come out party. Yep, and that was that. And it turned out Gio Bernard, contrary to what Drew believes, is not a 40-point-a-week wide receiver. He scored 10 points.
That's because he's a running back, Kyle.
Sorry, AJ Green. You're right.
Yeah.
Drew does believe that everybody on his team will score 40 points a week, and they did not.
At wide receiver?
Yes, he think AJ Green is all you need. AJ Green, bench everybody else.
Nice.
Our game of the week, actually, the battle to be Carl's bitch, the battle of the capital city maintenance guys, Don Anderson and John Whipple. Don Anderson actually destroyed his coworker and sexual partner by almost 50. Don had revamped his team before and actually coined the nickname Trader Don as he traded his whole roster. And speaking of trades, we had 7 this week as Don himself traded Mojo and Steve Smith to Blake for Chris Johnson and Alshon Jeffrey and Daniel Thomas. And he also traded Reggie Wayne and Vernon Davis to Carl for Noshawn Moreno, Jimmy Graham, and Ruben Randall. Whipple traded Deshaun Jackson, Le'Veon Bell to Carl for Julian Edelman and Fred Jackson. A lot of capital city trading action, probably talks during break time or with the coffee pot. Nobody knows. They'll work together. Probably some insider trading.
No pun intended with the trading aspect.
Yes. Probably one of the more boring trades after those big names were traded was brother-in-law's trade, another insider trading.
Incestual trading, it's called.
Incestual trading. Bert does fuck Todd's sister. I mean, had a kid. Bert traded Chris Gibbons and Brent Selleck
All right, next, go on.
to James Jones and Kellen Winslow, which Winslow Bert probably drops this week, I assume.
James Jones came out.
And then the biggest trade, we had a 10-player trade. It was 5 for 5. Myself, I traded Steven Jackson after his injury, Quiz Rogers, Antonio Brown, Andre Roberts, and Jermichael Finley for the key piece of the trade for me was Jimmy Graham, Noshawn Marino, Daniel Thomas, and Ruben Randall. But Don wasn't done yet there. He decided I've traded everybody, but you know what? I have not got the number 1 pick in the draft. So he decides he's going after Adrian Peterson. He trades Rashard Mendenhall, Matt Forte, and Justin Blackman for Adrian Peterson and Tavon Austin, the wide receiver out of West Virginia, who had 12 targets last week.
I thought he was for the Rams.
He was out of West Virginia is what I said, but he plays for the Rams.
Okay.
Geno Smith plays for the Jets. Those are
That's
the West Virginia Mountaineers, I know. But you may have noticed we said Don's name a lot.
You know what I appreciate about these newbies? Don's kind of the exact opposite of Brent.
Yep.
Speaking from the defending champions aspect, these newbies and these trades are phenomenal because it really adds to the beer budget. I appreciate the beer trade rule. It's going to come in handy again this year when this trophy's back in my couch, as Kyle likes to call it, the couch trophy.
He did not. Andy did not take his beer. He left the wild card party earlier, for those of you who don't know, which is why we're changing the location. But Andy left it earlier, and Andy actually texted Carl and said, "Hey, take it." So,
Okay, well, the Vikings were playing. I was a little distracted.
but if someone says take the beer, everyone is going to take the beer. So we all took the beer. That's what he told us to do. And then the next day, he's like, "Where's my beer?" Well, it's gone. So, but anyways. During the trades, we mentioned Don's name a lot. And as you know, Don is new to the league, like Andy just mentioned. The defending champion just mentioned. He's made 6 trades already in 2 weeks.
How many players is that?
Probably 20, I bet.
That's 20.
I bet he's traded 20
Jeez,
years.
that's like a 2 for a beer, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Don knows who's on his roster. I don't even know who's on his roster anymore. Which leads many to wonder, who is this guy and why does he do what he does? So I say we bring in King Bitch himself, the capital city King Bitch, as we crown him as King Bitch, Trader Don himself, a special guest. Here's his crown.
So let me take out the hat here because, as you know, I own Carl and John now. That's why I'm wearing the crown.
Yeah.
I do have AP. He is on the market.
Weird.
If you guys can believe that. I did hear coming into the league there was a guy that supposedly did a lot of trading. I think it's Blake or something, but that guy avoids me for some reason. I haven't seen him do any trades, so very minimal, I should say. So I guess I'm the new Blake.
Yeah.
If you had a roster like Blake, do you think you'll be able to flip it?
I'd probably not. That's a pretty bad team right now.
If Don can't move him, nobody can.
That's very true.
Don, 2 weeks into the season, it appears as though you don't understand the word of meaning of no. You haven't found a trade you don't like.
Here's the thing. I'm not married to anybody. I like to gamble, and that's what I'm in it for. I'm in it for the gamble.
In it for the gamble. Who's the next gamble?
So I said Adrian Peterson. Throw me something out
He's
there.
out.
He might go out. He might go for.
Will Adrian Peterson be traded before Sunday, before kickoff?
Will he play one game on your roster?
I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say anything's possible. He may go before Sunday.
Adrian Peterson gone before Sunday. That would be crazy.
That would be crazy, but you know what? Like I said, I'm in it for the gamble.
Thank you, Don, for your time tonight. I appreciate swinging by. Trader Don, everybody.
Thank you.
Just a
A
minute.
silent clap from the peanut gallery.
Just wait. Trying to offer Don trade for Adrian
He's trying to
Peterson?
trade for Don, for Adrian Peterson. Blake will probably offer
Can I
Mojo and
trade
Stevie
Adrian
Johnson.
Peterson for Don? I want to get Don. I want Don on my team.
You want Don? I look at him. He's got sleeveless shirts on. He's an East Sider. He's not going to do good. He'll get in a fight, but he'll be good for the fights. So our week 3 matchups, actually, now that we're on week 3, we've got 3 undefeated teams playing 3 winless teams. We've got Trader Don himself playing myself. Don's 2-0, I'm 0-3. We've got Justin playing Brad, another undefeated against the winless.
Do you play with yourself a lot?
Yes, it helps me sleep. I get a headache. So yeah. Andy Nelson plays Josh, another, and then we've got Leaper versus Whipple. We've got Carl versus Todd. We've got Blake versus Drew, a battle of childhood friends. And our game of the week is Bert versus Andy Wallace in a battle of who Todd will love the most. Our week 3 payout will be most quarterback points this week. Andy, who was your most disappointing fantasy player this past week?
Most disappointing fantasy player had to have been Colin Kaepernick. Shoots his load last week, goes off for almost 40 points. This week, 6.
We talked about a lot of trades. What was your best trade of the week?
Best one? I have to say number 1 pick in the draft. Mr. Anderson and Mr. Leaper swapping their first round selections in Forte and Adrian Peterson.
Who wins that trade?
Actually, I think it serves a need on both parties. And Mr. Anderson needed another wide receiver, and he gets an upside wide receiver in Tavon Austin underneath. And Leaper needed some more security in running back position since David Wilson and Stephen Ridley have been incognito the first 2 weeks.
You realize who was the number 8 wide receiver between weeks 10 through 17 last year?
The number what?
8. Justin Blackman.
That's right. Sneaky little
Sneaky
undercard
Leaper.
play
Sneaky
there.
Leaper. Who was
coming
the
out
worst
in
trade
week
of the
4.
week?
I heard you like that.
Worst trade had to have been Bert and Ernie.
Todd?
Is it
Bert and Ernie?
Bert and Ernie, that's a good name.
That's a good name, yeah.
Brad Selleck, I think his name is, and
Just boring.
Yeah.
Kellen Winslow, a bunch of battle of
We trade big names.
by name players.
All right, who's your lock of the week to win this week?
Lock of the week, I'm going to go into a 2-0-0-2 game and say the lock is a battle of 2 new rosters. And I'm going to the lock with Mr. Anderson to defeat the Roman Helmets. Roman Helmets going to drop to 0-3.
Really? 0-3, I don't think I'm making the playoffs as you need, probably, you can only lose 6 games to make the playoffs at most.
Now with the divisions,
Yeah, it's
your divisions, your bottom half is going to be at best 7-9.
So you think a 6 and 7 team will make the playoffs?
From your division, probably.
So
You
that's
need to
a
be 9-6 in the other division, or
Really? In your division.
9-4. Sorry.
Wow, full predictions.
Our division
Thank
was
you.
tougher. We got
We've
3
been really active in the chat again this week. I really appreciate it. A lot of trades going down. Keep it up, guys. Blake obviously has a lot of running backs. He wants to be moved. Maurice Jones-Drew, former UCLA Bruin, is on the block. So good luck with him, Blake. See you guys next week.